Gaya was a Korean confederacy of territorial polities in the Nakdong River basin of southern Korea, growing out of the Byeonhan confederacy of the Samhan period. The traditional period used by historians for Gaya chronology is AD 42 to 532. According to archaeological evidence in the 3rd and 4th centuries, some of the city-states of Byeonhan evolved into the Gaya confederacy, which was later annexed by Silla, one of the three kingdoms of Korea. The individual polities that made up the Gaya confederacy have been characterized as small city-states. The material cultural remains of Gaya culture mainly consist of burials and the contents of mortuary goods that have been excavated by archaeologists. Archaeologists interpret mounded burial cemeteries of the late 3rd and early 4th centuries such as Daesongdong in Gima and Bokcheon-dong in Busan as the royal burial grounds of Gaya polities. Names, although most commonly referred to as Gaya, probably due to the imprecision of transcribing Korean words into Hanja. Historical sources use a variety of names, including Garik, Gara, Garyang, and Gaya. According to Christopher I. Beckwith, the spelling Gaya is the modern Korean reading of the characters used to write the name. The pronunciation, Kara, is certain. In Japanese, Gaya is referred to as Maimuna, a name with considerable political connotations. However, a word Kara, which is probably from the name of Gaya on the Korean peninsula of antiquity, has been preserved in Japanese with the sense China or Korea, mainland East Asia, and, more recently, an even more vague sense of the nation's overseas, foreign country, history. According to a legend recorded in the Samgukhusa written in the 13th century, in the year AD 42, 6 eggs descended from heaven with a message that they would be kings. 6 boys were born, and within 12 days they grew mature. One of them, named Shoro, became the king of Gaya, and the other 5 founded the remaining 5 Gayas, namely Daegaya, Seongsangaya, Aragaya, Goryunggaya, and Sogaya. The Gaya polities evolved out of the chiefly political structures of the 12 tribes of the ancient Byeonhan Confederacy, one of the Samhan confederacies. The loosely organized chiefdoms resolved into 6 Gaya groups, centered on Gaya, on the basis of archaeological sources as well as limited written records. Scholars such as Sin have identified the late 3rd century as a period of transition from Byeonhan to Gaya, with increasing military activity and changing funerary customs. Sin further argues that this was associated with the replacement of the previous elite in some principalities by elements from the Baya kingdom, who brought a more militaristic ideology and style of rule. The Gaya Confederacy disintegrated under pressure from Goguryeo between AD 391 and 412, although the last Gaya polities remained independent until they were conquered by Silla in 562, as punishment for assisting Baekje in a war against Silla. Economy. Polities were situated in the alluvial flats of tributary river valleys and the mouth of the Nakdong. In particular, the mouth of the Nakdong has fertile plains, direct access to the sea, and rich iron deposits. Gaya polities had economies that were based on agriculture, fishing, casting, and long-distance trade. They were particularly known for its ironworking, as Byeonhan had been before it. Gaya polities exported abundant quantities of iron ore, iron armor, and other weaponry to Baekje and the Kingdom of Wa in Yamato period Japan. In contrast to the largely commercial and non-political ties of Byeonhan, Gaya polities seem to have attempted to maintain strong political ties with those kingdoms as well. Politics. Several ancient historical records list a number of polities of Gaya. For example, Goryeo Sayak lists 5. Gaya, Goryunggaya, Gaya, Aragaya, and Seongsangaya. The various Gaya polities formed a confederacy in the 2nd and 3rd centuries that was centered on the heartland of Gaya in modern Gima. After a period of decline, the confederacy was revived around the turn of the 5th and 6th centuries. this time centered on Gaya of modern Byeonhan. However, it was unable to defend itself against the incursions and attacks of the neighboring kingdom of Silla. Minor controversy. Political and trade relations with Japan have been a source of nationalist controversy in both Korea and Japan. Japanese publicists during the 20th century looked to the Nippon Shoki, which claims that Gaya was a military outpost of Japan during the Yamato period. While there is no evidence to support this, the claim has nonetheless been advocated at various times by Japanese imperialists, nationalists and press to justify the Japanese invasion of Korea. Archaeological evidence suggests that Gaya polities were the main exporter of technology and culture to Kyushu at that time. The theory of a Japanese outpost is widely rejected even in Japan, as there was no Japanese dynasty at the time that had a strong enough military power to conquer Gaya or any other part of Korea. The technology of Gaya was more advanced than that of the Japanese dynasties of the time. Gallery, gold crown and accessories. Horn-shaped cup from Gaya that may illustrate connection of Persian culture through the Silk Road to Korea. Gaya pottery at the National Museum of Korea. Shield ornaments excavated from the Daesongdong Cemetery site in Gimma. This iron helmet illustrates the skill of iron working and importance of iron from the Nakdong River Valley. Gaya crown. A Gaya soldier,